So let's take a look at what's happening in Illustrator, what's happening on the screen. Right now I have Illustrator open, and in this chapter I'm recording on a Windows PC, so I have this kind of large blank gray background there. If you're running this on a Mac, instead of seeing that large blank background, you'll just see whatever is behind Illustrator. Maybe you'll see your desktop or other programs that are running. Now, in the next lesson, we'll talk in some detail about what all these tools are here on the left side and on the right side. But the two things really that I want to accomplish in this lesson is I want to make sure that you have Illustrator looking the same way that I do on my screen. And I also want you to know what options you have for opening files. So the first thing is to make sure that Illustrator looks like it does out of the box, like when you first installed it. You see up here, you have this little drop down there called Essentials. These are what are called workspaces. You just click that. You see there are different workspaces for different tasks. Maybe you're going to do some painting. Maybe you're going to do tracing or typography. There are workspaces specifically for that. Right now we want to use Essentials because that's kind of a general all-around workspace. And maybe you're using a computer where someone else has customized Illustrator. So to make sure that the Essentials workspace is the default one, you see over here towards the bottom where it says Reset Essentials. Just click that, and you may see the screen kind of flickers a little bit. That means Illustrator is saying, all right, whatever customizations you have, we're not going to ruin them, we're not going to delete them, but we just want the default workspace that you would have when you first install the program. And you might think to yourself, okay, opening files? Hey, I know at this point how to open files, and I'm sure you do, but Illustrator has a couple of extras that you might want to know. Well, first of all, opening a file in Illustrator, just like any other program, you could press Control-O because the word open begins with the letter O. If you're on a Mac, Command-O is the same thing. You could also go up to the File menu and choose Open, and you have the shortcuts here, either Windows or Mac. If you're using Windows, there's one little feature that the Mac does not have, and that is if you double-click anywhere on this big blank background here, just double-click, that brings you into the File Open dialog box. I'll just cancel that. So that's just another way of going to the File menu and choosing Open or pressing the shortcut. But I want to show you Adobe Bridge. Now, Bridge is a full program in its own right, and when you get any Adobe program, and if you have either a single Adobe program, like you bought Illustrator by itself, or maybe you bought Photoshop by itself, Bridge comes with it. If you have the entire master collection, whatever you have of Adobe programs, you have Adobe Bridge. Okay, so how do we use it? One way is, if you see up here this little Bridge icon, you can click that. You can also go up to the File menu and choose Browse in Bridge, and there's the shortcut for Windows or Mac. So one way or the other, let's do that. And Bridge starts up. And you can see down here on my Windows taskbar, I have Bridge running along with Illustrator. If you're on a Mac, you'll see Illustrator and Bridge down on the dock. So Bridge is kind of like a file manager. Think of maybe the Windows Explorer or the Mac Finder. And see over here on the left, you have these two tabs, Favorites and Folders. And in both places, you have the desktop. So I've got the desktop here in Favorites. You can put whatever favorites in there that you like. If you go over here to the Folders tab, you'll have the desktop and whatever other subfolders you have under there. If you have other hard drives, you can see them under your computer there. Now, on my computer, I put the project files on the desktop, and I'm going to assume throughout the course that's where you have yours. If you decided to put your project files maybe in your Documents folder, that's fine. You want to right now go to the Documents folder, either in the Folders or Favorites tab. So let's double-click the Project Files folder. And you can see my Project Files folder here is named a little differently than yours, but later on in the course you'll see I fixed it, and it is named the same as yours. But that's okay either way. It has the same files in it. And here we have all of the subfolders from Chapter 1 through Chapter 10. Since we're in Chapter 1 right now, double-click Chapter 1, and now you can see thumbnails, a little sneak peek for you, of the files that I'm going to use in this chapter. Now, just like Illustrator has different workspaces, Bridge has different workspaces. And you see up here, I have Essentials selected. You also have Film Strip and Metadata and Keywords, and these are for other functions, and you could use them if you like, but I'm going to stay here in Essentials. It's just kind of a good all-around way of viewing and accessing the files. Also on the top here, you have breadcrumbs, so I can see I'm in the desktop, and within the desktop in the Project Files folder, and within the Project Files folder, I'm in Chapter 1, and if I click here, I can actually edit this if I want. I'm just going to click here to get rid of that. And you can view your thumbnails either bigger or smaller. You see down over here we have this little slider, and if you take this little thumb, or whatever they call that, if you drag that to the right, you can get larger versions of the thumbnails, drag to the left smaller versions so you can see more thumbnails. And you see you have a few little buttons here. This one here that we're looking at will show you the grid. The one next to it will show you them arranged pretty much the same way, just without the grid. This one over here, second to the last, will show you some details. So you can see not just the file name and the image itself, the thumbnail, but you can see the date and the dimensions and any other information if there's color profiles and whatnot. And the last one here, as a list, this is really more like the Windows Explorer or the Macintosh Finder, where you can see columns and you can sort. Right? You can click the column headers one way or another to sort in ascending or descending order. So I want to go back to one of these large thumbnail views. And the first file I want to open up here is called PLP Logo. And this is actually a real logo that belongs to a real company called Powerful Learning Practice. A person I work with actually created this logo. So let's just double click it. And by the way, if you get a warning about color settings, just click Continue. Now this may happen with a few other class files in this course, but don't be concerned, the files will work perfectly fine. And you see it opens in Illustrator because Bridge knew that, oh, this is an AI file, so it opens in Illustrator. Now the way I have it here on the screen isn't really very useful. Illustrator just tends to do this. I'm not really sure why, but let's take a look at this image fitting in the screen. And the easiest way to do that, I think, is in Windows, press Control-0. On Mac, press Command-0. And that fits the entire image in the screen. Now, if you don't want to remember that shortcut, that's okay. You see down over here you have this little hand tool in the toolbar. If you double-click that, well, nothing happens because I already did it, but if you double-click that, that will also fit the artwork to the screen. So I'm going to leave this right here, and in the next lesson, I'll give you an overview of what's going on with all these tools on the left side and the right side and on the top.